right, so are you ready to dive into this iPhone 16 Pro Max camera stuff?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
I feel like Apple's really pushing that, like, iPhone, the camera. That's also a phone thing even more now.
Totally, yeah. Especially with that new dedicated camera control button.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a whole new level.
So we've got a ton of reviews and articles here.
A mountain of them.
And sometimes, let's be honest, they get a bit bogged down in the, like, tech jargon, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Our mission today, I think, is to cut through all that and figure out what these features actually mean for photographers.
Yeah, like you and me.
Exactly.
Real world impact, you know? Beyond the hype, do these things actually deliver?
That's it. So are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we're going to be focusing on what matters most to photographers.
Okay.
Things like how that 48MP ultra-wide camera actually performs,
Okay.
especially for macro shots.
Ooh, yeah!
What's the deal with this Fusion camera? Everyone's talking about it. Is that new camera control button actually genius, or is it just a gimmick?
Yeah, we'll get into all that good stuff.
We'll also dig into how Apple is pushing computational photography further than ever, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Which has some pretty interesting implications, as we'll see.
All right, so let's just kick things off with that 48MP ultra-wide camera.
Okay.
On paper 4X, the resolution from the last generation sounds amazing.
It does.
But does it actually live up to the hype?
You know, the reviews I've been seeing are pretty consistent.
Okay.
The sharpness is genuinely impressive.
Okay.
But here's the thing, though. The sensor size hasn't changed.
Ah, good.
So you will see a difference in well-lit situations, like if you're printing large or cropping heavily. But don't expect miracles in low light, you know?
Yeah.
Physics is physics, after all.
Makes sense. But what really caught my eye was the Halide developers.
Oh, yeah.
They were raving about the macro photography being, like, on another level.
Really?
Yeah, and they say because of that higher resolution, you can now get true 12MP cropped images.
Wow.
Which is huge for macro.
Huge, yeah.
So imagine being able to capture those tiny details, like with crazy clarity, like the patterns on a butterfly wing or the texture of a flower petal.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah, that's a great example of how more megapixels doesn't automatically mean, like, better photos.
Right.
It's about how that resolution is USD.
Yes.
And in this case, it unlocks a whole new level of detail for macro.
That's so cool. So more pixels to play with, but now let's talk about this Fusion camera.
Okay.
This sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
So how does it actually work?
Right.
And what's the benefit for everyday photography?
Okay, so think of it this way.
Okay.
The Fusion camera, it takes the best of both worlds.
Okay.
It combines data from the 48MP and the 12MP modes to create a 24MP image.
Okay.
So you get the detail and the flexibility of that high-res sensor when you need it.
Uh-huh.
But for your everyday shots, it's focused on delivering just like balanced image quality.
Okay.
Not just chasing crazy high resolution.
I see. So both the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro have this Fusion camera.
They do.
But I'm guessing the Pro's sensor is still a step up in quality.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Both have the technology.
Okay.
But the Pro's sensor is significantly larger and it captures more light.
Right.
So you get that beautiful, shallow depth of field.
Okay.
Especially with the telephoto.
Okay, speaking of the telephoto lens,
Right.
I'm seeing that the 5x zoom is now standard on both Pro models.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I was a fan of the old 3x.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people were.
But I'm intrigued by this new setup.
I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
This is where the Fusion camera gets really cool.
Okay.
It creates a virtual 2x lens
Well,
that, based on the reviews I've seen, actually outperforms the old physical 2x lens.
so even though it's virtual, it's actually better than the old physical lens.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it leverages that higher resolution to give you sharper, more detailed images, even when you're not zoomed in all the way.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that 5x zoom still comes with its own set of challenges.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah. A 5x zoom, it requires you to be more deliberate with your composition.
Okay.
It kind of pushes you to zoom with your feet.
I love that.
As photographers say, get closer to your subject for a more impactful image.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the best camera technique is just moving yourself.
Exactly.
But honestly, in low light, I bet that telephoto lens still struggles.
Exactly. Smaller sensor, narrower field of view.
Yeah.
It's just going to be harder to gather light in those dimly lit environments.
Yeah.
Some reviewers are saying there's like increased noise and a drop in detail when using the 5X in low light.
So maybe we'll see a larger telephoto sensor in future iPhones.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
One can hope. Let's talk about low light in general.
Okay.
What's the verdict on night mode?
Well,
Any major improvements, or are we still seeing some of those same limitations?
the wider dynamic range is a noticeable improvement, thanks to the better HDR in night mode.
Okay.
But I have read about some mixed experiences.
Oh, really?
One developer mentioned struggling with, inconsistent exposures.
Wow.
Sometimes the results looked overblown, almost artificial.
So even with all that computational photography, wizardry, low-light photography is still a bit of a challenge.
It is. It makes you wonder, if sometimes it's actually better to just shoot outside of night mode
Yeah.
and embrace the grain, the moodiness of the scene.
That's a good point. Sometimes the best results come from working within the limitations of your equipment,
I think so.
from understanding when to lean on the tech and when to let the scene speak for itself.
Definitely.
All right, so beyond the cameras themselves, there's a whole world of under-the-hood upgrades
Oh, yeah.
in the iPhone 16 Pro Max, right?
Oh,
So let's talk about those and how they actually affect the photography experience.
okay. Absolutely.
Okay.
These improvements might not be as flashy as a new lens or something,
Right.
but they make a real difference.
Yeah.
We're talking faster USB transfers
Okay.
for quickly offloading images,
Right.
Wi-Fi 7 support
Oh, wow.
for blazing fast wireless sharing,
Great.
even insanely fast cellular download speeds if you're on the go.
Oh, my gosh. I'm all about saving time.
Me too.
And I heard there were some pretty significant improvements to QuickTake video quality as well.
Yes,
Is that tied to these speed boosts?
it is. Yeah, partly due to this new Apple camera interface,
Okay.
which allows for faster sensor readout.
So basically that means the sensor can capture information more quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
resulting in higher quality QuickTake videos.
I see.
You'll notice a significant jump in clarity and detail,
Cool.
especially if you're used to older iPhones.
Okay.
And for those who shoot ProRAW,
Huh?
they've achieved zero shutter lag
Wow.
by speeding up that initial burst capture.
Zero shutter lag. That sounds almost too good to be true.
I know.
But I'm guessing the multi-second processing time for ProRAW images is still there.
You're right. The processing time hasn't changed, which can be a bit of a bottleneck,
Yeah.
but that faster initial capture is a huge win,
Okay.
especially for those split-second moments where you need to react quickly.
For sure. Okay, so hardware is covered,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the software side?
Oh, yeah.
iOS 18 must have some tricks up its sleeve.
Absolutely.
Right, especially when it comes to photography.
It all starts with the Photos app,
Okay,
which has been completely overhauled.
before we get to that, can we talk about the long-awaited ability to open camera apps directly from the lock screen?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like such a basic feature,
I know.
but finally having it is a major win for convenience.
It's great.
I know.
It's a great example of how sometimes the smallest changes make the biggest difference in, user experience.
Totally. And speaking of user experience,
Yes,
the redesigned Photos app is a bold move by Apple.
it is.
It's designed to be more intuitive and user-friendly,
More streamlined.
but some longtime users might find it a bit jarring.
Yeah, change can be tough.
But what about those photographic styles?
Okay.
Are they still just basic filters, or has Apple done something more interesting with them?
They've gotten a major upgrade.
Really?
It's not about slapping a preset filter on your image anymore.
Okay.
You can now adjust undertones.
Cool.
Giving you more control over how the style affects things like skin tones.
So you're saying it's a move towards more natural-looking, customizable results,
Exactly.
rather than those one-size-fits-all filters.
Yes. And here's another great feature.
Okay.
These new photographic styles, they're non-destructive.
What does that mean?
So you can apply a style, experiment with it, and if you don't like it,
Yeah.
you can easily revert back to the original image.
Oh, that's nice. That gives photographers a lot more flexibility.
On the video side,
Okay.
we're now talking 4K 120 fps recording,
Hold on, 4K at 120 frames per second? That's
Yeah.
insane.
ProRes log support.
Apple is serious about making the iPhone a legitimate filmmaking tool.
They are.
And being able to pause recordings while keeping the background music going,
know.
that's pure genius.
Riz.
But we can't talk about the iPhone 16 Pro without addressing the elephant in the room,
Uh-huh.
that new camera control button.
Right.
Adding a dedicated button like this is a big statement for Apple.
It is.
It really highlights how important the camera has become to the iPhone experience.
Yeah. It's more than just a button.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of this like shift in identity.
Okay.
The convenience factor is undeniable.
Sure.
Launch the camera app instantly from anywhere with a single press.
That's a game changer for capturing those fleeting moments.
It's huge.
But I'm curious, what adjustments can you actually make with this button?
You have a lot of control at your fingertips.
Okay.
Exposure,
Okay.
depth,
Mm-hmm.
zoom,
Wow.
switching between cameras,
Okay.
applying styles,
Mm.
adjusting tone.
Wow.
It's almost like having a mini control panel right on the side of your phone.
That sounds pretty powerful, but also potentially overwhelming. Did any of the reviews touch on that?
They did.
Like, is it easy to use, or does it feel clunky having all those options packed into one button?
There were definitely some mixed feelings about the UI.
Okay.
One reviewer mentioned it feeling a bit cluttered.
Yeah.
Especially with the soft haptic feedback.
Okay.
But the standout feature seems to be the ability to quickly switch between lenses, even without looking at the screen.
That's the camera's adjustment, right?
Yes.
Being able to switch between wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto just by feel?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds incredibly useful,
It is.
especially when you're trying to capture a shot quickly.
Especially when you don't want to fiddle with the touch screen.
Exactly. It's a very tactile, intuitive way to interact with the camera.
It is.
And here's where it gets interesting for developers.
Oh, yeah.
Apple has created an API that allows them to customize the camera control button for their specific apps.
That's huge.
Yeah. For example, the Halid developers.
Okay.
They chose to prioritize focus and exposure, giving photographers quick access to those essential settings.
It's a good move.
That's so cool. It opens up a whole world of possibilities for creating truly unique camera experiences.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about megapixels,
Uh-huh.
fusion cameras,
Yes.
telephoto lenses,
Mm-hmm.
low light performance,
Yeah.
speed boosts,
Yeah.
software updates,
Mm-hmm.
and even this new camera control button.
That's a lot.
It's clear that the iPhone 16 Pro is a beast when it comes to photography.
It really is.
But what does it all mean?
Right.
What does this relentless focus on computational photography say about the future of photography itself?
That's the big question, isn't it?
I think so.
We're seeing a blurring of the lines between like what a camera IS
Right.
and what a computer can do with an image.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly powerful,
Yeah.
allowing us to overcome like the physical limitations of these tiny lenses and sensors.
Right.
But it also raises questions about authenticity and the role of the photographer in creating an image.
It's that classic double-edged sword of technology.
It is.
Incredible potential, but also potential downsides.
For sure.
One developer even made a plea for Apple to focus on developing more natural-looking noise reduction,
Interesting.
suggesting that they should even embrace grain as a stylistic choice.
I love that idea.
I do too. Embracing the imperfections,
Yeah.
finding beauty in the noise and grain.
Absolutely.
But as technology advances and cameras become even smaller, it feels inevitable that images will become increasingly processed.
It does.
So the question is, how much control are we as photographers willing to relinquish to algorithms?
That's a big one.
It's a valid point. And then there's this whole other dimension we haven't even touched on yet.
Oh, yeah.
Spatial capture.
Right.
The iPhone 16 Pro is supposedly built from the ground up for this new form of media.
Exciting stuff.
And it feels like we're on the verge of something truly groundbreaking.
It does.
We'll dive into that after a quick break. All right, see you in a sec.
See ya. So before the break, we were starting to get into this whole spatial capture thing.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, to be honest.
It's a lot.
Can you, break it down for me and for our listeners in a way that doesn't make my brain melt?
Okay, I'll do my best.
Right.
Spatial capture, it's all about capturing the world in 3 dimensions.
Okay.
Creating these immersive experiences that go beyond what we can do with traditional photos and videos.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being able to step inside a photo or relive a moment from multiple angles. It's kind of like VR.
Okay.
But instead of creating artificial worlds,
Yeah.
you're capturing real life in all its 3D glory.
Okay. That's starting to make a little more sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about seeing a flat image.
Right.
It's about experiencing a moment in a more immersive, interactive way.
Exactly. And the iPhone 16 Pro, with its array of sensors and its powerful processing chip, it's designed to be a key tool for both creating and experiencing these spatial captures.
This is seriously blowing my mind. So I'm guessing you need some specialized hardware
Yeah.
to actually experience these spatial captures.
Right. To fully immerse yourself, you'd need something like the Vision Pro.
Yeah. Okay.
But even without a headset, you can still get a taste of it on your iPhone screen.
Really?
It's like looking through a window into another dimension.
Interesting.
You can move your phone around to explore the scene from different angles.
Wow.
It's pretty wild.
So maybe not everyone will be jumping into spatial capture right away.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels like the future.
It does.
Of how we'll capture and share our experiences. Imagine being able to share your vacation memories in a way that actually lets people feel like they're there with you.
Yeah.
Or documenting a historical event in a way that's truly immersive and educational.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, the potential applications are endless. Think about journalism education.
Right.
Even scientific research.
Absolutely.
Being able to capture and share experiences in 3 dimensions could revolutionize the way we learn and understand the world.
Totally. And it all starts with this little device in our pockets.
It's amazing to think about the power we hold in our hands.
Yeah.
Speaking of power. Before we totally lose ourselves in the spatial capture rabbit hole,
Okay.
I want to circle back to the camera control button.
Okay.
We touched on the UI being a bit clunky.
A little bit.
But are there any suggestions out there for how Apple could improve it?
You know, one reviewer made a really interesting point.
Okay.
They were saying that the beauty of traditional camera controls, like the dials on a DSLR, is their simplicity and predictability.
You can adjust settings without even looking, just by feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the iPhone's camera control button with its multiple adjustments and soft haptic feedback, it loses some of that tactile intuitiveness.
It makes sense when you have too many options crammed into one control.
Yeah.
It can become less about instinct and more about consciously thinking through each adjustment.
For sure. So they suggested that maybe each adjustment should have a dedicated mode.
Okay.
So you're not cycling through like so many options with each press.
I see.
Or maybe just limit it to 1 or 2 key adjustments.
Okay.
Like focus and exposure.
Right.
To make it more streamlined and responsive.
I like that. Keeping it simple and focused, literally.
Yeah.
And remember how we talked about developers being able to create custom adjustments for the camera control button?
Yeah. It's huge.
That opens up some really interesting possibilities.
Definitely. It's like giving developers the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
They can tailor the camera control button to their specific apps.
Yeah.
Prioritizing the adjustments that make the most sense for their users.
Okay, so let's play a little game. Imagine you're a developer.
Okay.
Creating a camera app specifically for street photography.
Okay, I like this.
What kind of custom adjustments would you create for the camera control button to make it like the ultimate street photography tool?
Well, speed is everything in street photography, right?
Absolutely.
You need to be able to react instantly to capture those fleeting moments. So I'd probably prioritize adjustments like focus and exposure.
Okay.
Allow photographers to like fine-tune those settings on the fly without having to dig through menus.
Right.
And maybe like a quick toggle for burst mode.
Well, that's a good one.
So you can capture a sequence of shots really quickly.
Genius.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need that burst to catch the perfect expression or like the decisive moment.
Exactly. You could even have an adjustment for like presetting a specific focus distance.
Okay.
So the camera is already locked on to your subject.
Wow.
Ready to shoot the moment you press the button.
It's incredible to think about how this one little button could completely change the way we use our iPhones for photography.
I know.
And how developers will use it to create these like hyper-specific niche camera experiences.
It's a real turning point. It's not just about Apple dictating how we use the camera anymore.
Right.
It's about empowering developers to build tools that meet the unique needs of different types of photographers and different styles of photography.
But zooming out a bit, all this focus on computational photography, on these increasingly powerful cameras.
Yeah.
Does it make you wonder about the future of photography itself?
It does. It's a question that's been debated since like the dawn of digital photography.
Right.
There's a certain magic to the imperfections of film.
Yeah.
The grain, the unpredictability. And as our cameras become more intelligent, more automated, there's a risk that our images will start to look too perfect, too artificial.
Like we're losing that human touch.
Yeah.
That element of chance and serendipity that can make a photograph truly special.
Exactly. And there's also the question of skill.
Right.
As our cameras do more of the heavy lifting for us, are we becoming less skilled as photographers?
Interesting.
Are we relying too much on algorithms and not enough on our own creative vision?
It's a slippery slope, for sure.
Yeah.
But I also think there's another side to this. These technological advancements, they're opening up new creative possibilities,
Right.
allowing us to do things with our cameras that were simply impossible with traditional film.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the technology itself.
Yeah.
It's about how we use it.
Yes.
Ultimately, the camera is just a tool.
It's up to the photographer to use that tool in a way that expresses their unique vision, their perspective on the world.
Well said. So it's not about rejecting technology altogether.
Right.
It's about finding that balance,
Yeah,
embracing the new possibilities while also remembering the fundamentals of good photography.
exactly.
Composition, light timing.
Yep.
And of course, that human element that makes an image truly connect with viewers.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about using technology to enhance our creativity,
Okay.
not to replace it.
Now, before we move on, I want to touch on something that I think gets lost in all the excitement
Okay.
about new cameras and features. The impact this technology has on the tech landscape as a whole.
Apple is making some big moves here, not just in photography, but in their overall strategy.
They are. What do you make of it? Well, what's fascinating is how this push into advanced camera technology aligns perfectly with Apple's broader strategy
Okay.
of building this robust ecosystem around their devices.
Right.
They're not just selling hardware anymore.
Right.
They're creating a world where you can capture, edit, share, and experience content all within the Apple ecosystem.
It's a closed loop, right?
Oh, it is.
You've got Apple Music for your audio needs,
Right.
Apple TV Plus for video content, even Apple Arcade for gaming.
Yeah.
And now, with these incredibly powerful cameras, especially those geared towards spatial capture,
Right.
they're giving you the tools to create your own content and experience it in new and innovative ways.
Exactly. And it's not just aimed at casual users who want to just snap a quick photo for social media.
Right.
Features like ProRes video recording and spatial audio capture
Yeah.
show that Apple is serious about attracting professional content creators, too. They're aiming to compete with high-end cameras
Wow.
and professional editing software.
It's a bold move, especially when you consider that dedicated cameras still hold a lot of sway
Oh, for sure.
in the professional world.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, the convenience and portability of having this level of camera technology in your pocket
I know.
is pretty compelling. I mean, the best camera is the one you have with you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the key. Apple is betting that for many creators,
Yeah.
that convenience factor will outweigh the perceived advantages of traditional cameras.
Sure.
And when that camera in your pocket is as capable as the iPhone 16 Pro,
Right.
it's a game changer.
But what about the competition?
Oh, yeah.
How are other tech giants responding to Apple's advances in smartphone photography?
Wow.
Are they just playing catch-up, or are they taking their own unique approaches?
That's a good question.
We'll dive into that and more when we return for the final part of our deep dive into the iPhone 16 Pro Max's camera. All right, so we're back, and I think ready to kind of wrap up our deep dive here into the iPhone 16 Pro Max camera.
Okay.
And I think before the break, we were talking about how Apple's camera stuff
Yeah.
really fits into like their bigger strategy
Right.
and how the competition is reacting. It seems like everyone is jumping on this computational photography bandwagon these days.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's become the defining trend in the smartphone camera development.
Yeah.
Every major player is leveraging AI and software, to push the boundaries.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to Apple's control over the whole process, from the hardware to the software.
Definitely.
That A18 chip is a beast.
It's powerful.
And the fact that they design their own sensors and image processing pipeline gives them a level of optimization that other companies just can't match.
I agree. It's a powerful combination.
Yeah.
They're not relying on third-party components,
Right.
so they can fine-tune every aspect of the camera experience to work together seamlessly.
So it sounds like Apple is really setting the pace in the smartphone camera race,
It seems like it.
forcing everyone else to play catch-up.
Yeah.
But what does this all mean for the future of photography?
Right.
Is the iPhone on track to replace dedicated cameras altogether?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
I don't have a crystal ball,
Right.
but I think it's unlikely that smartphones will completely displace dedicated cameras,
Okay.
especially for professionals.
Right.
There will always be a need for that versatility,
Sure.
the image quality,
Yeah.
the granular control that a
Yeah.
professional-grade camera provides.
Yeah, those are some pretty big advantages.
They are.
But for everyday photography, for capturing those spontaneous moments,
Right.
for sharing our lives with the world, the iPhone is becoming the go-to camera for millions of people.
It is.
And as that technology continues to evolve,
Yeah.
that line between smartphone cameras and professional cameras is just going to keep getting blurrier.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what makes this such an exciting time to be a photographer.
It really is.
We have more powerful tools at our disposal than ever before,
Yeah.
and the creative possibilities are practically limitless.
It really just comes down to this technology is just a tool. It's up to us as photographers
Right.
to use these tools in a way that expresses our unique vision
Exactly.
and tells our stories in compelling ways.
It's not about letting the technology dictate the art.
I love that.
It's about using technology to enhance our creativity
Yes.
and connect with the world in meaningful ways.
And that's what we've tried to do today in this deep dive.
I think so.
It wasn't just about dissecting the technical specs
Right.
of the iPhone 16 Pro Max's camera.
Mhm.
It was about exploring the larger implications of these advancements,
Yeah.
both for photography and for the tech landscape as a whole.
Absolutely. We've gone from megapixels to fusion cameras,
That's right.
from telephoto lenses to that kind of controversial camera control button. We even dipped our toes into the mind-blowing world of spatial capture.
It was a lot.
It was.
So for all of you listening, we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
In this age of increasingly intelligent cameras and AI-assisted image creation,
All right.
what does it truly mean to be a photographer?
That's a good one.
What role will skill and artistic vision play in shaping the future of this art form?
It's a question worth pondering. We encourage you to dive deeper into those sources we mentioned,
Yeah.
to explore these ideas and form your own conclusions.
And if you're looking for a tool that really lets you push the boundaries of iPhone photography, check out the Halide app,
It's a good one.
developed by the folks we've been referencing throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, they're doing some really innovative stuff.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.